that I feel I must share with you as sort of maybe the mom of the church and looking at you as my kids and thinking, what is it that I must pass on to you? First, I want to take you right back to the beginning of God's story of redemption, when he issued urgent orders to his people, saying, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. An all-inclusive, all-encompassing command to dive into the depths of God with every fiber of their being. And before these bedraggled ex-slaves could gather their thoughts and collect their breath, he made another sweeping statement. And you shall teach them diligently to your sons. When you're sitting, when you're walking, when you're talking, when you tuck them into bed at night, even first thing every morning, you shall teach them to your sons. Why parents? With all the complexities of the mother-daughter, father-son relationships, with all of our unhideable inadequacies and issues, why did God give this in-your-face command to parents? Why not Bucky, the supersized hero of every kid under 12? Or Jesse, the giant, charismatic leader of youth? Why not him? Or Phil, this man who has spent a lifetime carving out determined faithfulness to follow hard after God? Why me, a mere mom? Now hold that question for just a moment while I tell you our story. 33 years ago, I was a 21-year-old mama holding a squalling infant in my arms, realizing that I had absolutely no idea how to raise this man-child into a full-on Jesus-following disciple. And while I was crying out to God for wisdom, show me how, I stumbled onto someone else's story in a musty old bookstore on the east side of Portland. His name was Jonathan Edwards, a sort of strange and difficult man, imperfect. His biography was titled Marriage to a Difficult Man. Yet something remarkable happened in Jonathan and Sarah Edwards' family and their heritage. Their lineage included 14 college presidents, 65 college professors in a largely uneducated colonial America, 100 attorneys, a dean of an outstanding law school, 30 judges, 60 physicians, deans of medical schools, 3 United States senators, 3 mayors of major cities, 3 state governors, a controller of the United States president, a vice president of the United States, 300 pastors, missionaries, theological professors, and more giants in the coming American industry than could be tallied. A long list of incredibly high impact men and women. And as I read this list at the back of the book, a hope began to form in my heart. Dare I say, a vision. Could God do something like that in our family? Could he take what we dedicated to him and create a legacy that would last? Might he use us to change the course of history, to influence the church with a capital C? And from that bare hope grew a conviction that yes, God could and he would use what we offered to him to make a difference. And further, that he was asking us to pour ourselves into our family above all else, to nurture and to train and to teach and to discipline and to purposefully, intentionally make disciples of our children so that they would grow up to impact his kingdom in a way that we possibly never could. We would make them our life calling before ministry, before personal comfort, before our own agendas, before anything. And we would ask God to make us normal, ordinary middle children, the matriarch and patriarch of generations of Comers who would follow hard after Jesus. It was an exhilarating vision for two fresh young believers, way beyond our scope of ability or training. Yet we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt this was exactly what God was calling us to give our lives to. And now, all these years later, I know why God first chose parents to make disciples of the next generations. Now, all these later, I see the impact of a parent who will persistently pour the best 40 or more years of his or her life into their children with the purpose of making God-loving disciples, who in turn make God-loving disciples. It's an immeasurable. Do the math. Phil and I had 4 children. If each of them have 4 children, or maybe that's too many, 4 children is crazy, chaotic, and expensive, so say they each have 3. And then somewhere along the line, they adopt a 4th into their circle. Choose to become intensive, committed, spiritual parents to that one too. Each of those 4 in turn do the same thing. They pour into 4 children who become disciples, who in turn make disciples. Now that's 16, full on, Jesus-following, God-loving disciples who make disciples. Keep going for a total of 12 generations. Generation is about 25 years, so that's a span of 300 years. Jonathan Edwards' story happened 280 years ago. In 12 generations, 16,777,216 passionate, Jesus-following disciples who make disciples. That, my friends, is more than the total city population of all of Portland, New York City, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Boston, San Francisco, Seattle, and San Diego combined. What if each of us in this room did that? What if God is waiting for us each to take our 4 and make disciples because he loves all those 17 million Gomers and those 17 million Rathkes and those 17 million Griffiths and Christie's 17 million that will follow her? Ah, you say, if only I'd understood that all those wasted years ago. You're cringing, some of you, you're shamed. You look back and you realize you got caught up in your issues and you did not fully follow and obey that great Shema. You didn't take it seriously. Now you're convinced, too late, it's too late. Do not let that lie penetrate. Take 4. Look around you. There is a generation longing for a committed man or woman, spiritual father or spiritual mother to jumpstart them into their 17 million. Instead of caving into guilt, why don't you devote the rest of your lives to just 4, to make disciples of 4. Bring them in just like Paul brought Timothy in as his son. Pour into those select 4. Give them your time, your undivided attention, your vacations. Dip into your retirement account and spend those luxuries in contributing to their college education. Do whatever it takes to earn the right to speak into their lives for a lifetime. Can we possibly begin to grasp the implications of God's stated plan? Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." Will you? Will you invest in 7 million intentionally